The 5 Wise Words. The wise words of the teacher. Once there lived a handsome young man named Ram Singh who, though he was loved by everyone, was unhappy because he had a stiff stepmother. His stepmother scolded him all day and gave him very little food. He was patient enough to face this wild abuse with kindness. He obeyed all her orders to avoid her evil. When he lost his patience, he left his house in search of a better life. In the early morning, he put his old clothes in his bag, all his money in his pocket, and went out. He had to say goodbye to his old wise teacher. The old man welcomed his student and noticed, through his wisdom and features of the sad face of the youth, that he was in trouble. He asked, "What happened, my son?" The youth answered, "Nothing, father, but I decided to travel in search of a good life." The teacher said, "Be wise and keep living in your father's house. Half a loaf in your father's house is better than a whole loaf in far countries." But Ram Singh made up his mind. The old man retreated quickly and said, "Well, if you made up your mind, do what you see. But listen carefully. Remember these 5 wise words. If you apply them, you'll not be harmed at all. First, obey the orders of those you serve without hesitation. Second, don't talk harshly to anyone. Third, do not lie. Fourth, do not equate yourself with those who are higher than you. Fifth, when you meet wise old men, listen to their words. Even for a few minutes every day, this pushes you to the right path. Journey of Ram Singh. Ram Singh started his journey. He intended to apply the proverbs of his old teacher. Several days later, Ram Singh arrived at a big city. He had spent all his money, so he decided to search for any humble work. He stood in front of a merchant whose shop was full of varied grains. Ram Singh asked him if he needed a worker. The merchant gazed at him and replied, "Yes, there is a place for you." Ram Singh asked, "What do you mean?" The merchant replied, "Yesterday our Prime Minister dismissed his servant. He wants to employ another. You seem a suitable person for this job. You are tall and handsome. I advise you to go to him instantly." Ram Singh thanked the merchant for his advice. He immediately went to the Prime Minister's house. At first, the Prime Minister hesitated to meet Ram for his bad appearance and his shabby clothes. Then he changed his mind and admitted him to enter to test him. He won't judge a person by his appearance. Appearance is sometimes deceptive. The Prime Minister asked Ram Singh, "Why do you want to work with me?" Ram Singh said without hesitation, "My fate drove me to you, sir." "What jobs can you do better?" Ram Singh remembered the words of his teacher and said, "I'm skilled in 5 things. They are: first, I obey the orders of those I serve without hesitation. Second, I don't talk harshly to anyone. Third, I don't lie. Fourth, I don't equate myself with those who are higher than me. Fifth, when I meet wise old men, I listen to their words even for a few minutes every day. This pushes me to the right path." The Prime Minister admired Ram's wit. He smiled and praised him. He appointed him as his personal servant. The first word. One day, the king set out on a journey with the Prime Minister. They were accompanied by an army of servants, soldiers, merchants, singers, and all kinds of animals. The caravan was like a moving city. After a few days of travel, they were in a dusty, barren desert. Dust goes up to the sky. Man and animals suffocated. By the end of this day, they were in a village that had no water well or a river. the king gave orders to look for water anywhere. The prime minister sent messengers to old people in the village asking them if there were any new wells. He received no direct reply till an old man with a white beard said, "Sir, there is a well near this village. Some kings dug it several hundred years ago. They say it is a deep well that never dried, but it is covered by stones. Inside it, there are steps that lead to the water deep inside the ground. No one can go near it, because evil spirits may chase him. It is also known that who went down never got out." The prime minister started to think it over. Then he turned to Ram Singh, who was standing behind him. He said, "No man can be trusted unless he has been tested. Go to this well and bring some water to the king and his caravan." Ram Singh remembered the first proverb instantly. Obey the orders of those you serve without hesitation. Ram instantly replied that he was ready. He left to start his adventure. He got 2 big barrels on the back of a donkey and set off with his guide, the old villager. After a short time, both men arrived at a place covered with high trees. The old man pointed at the well, but he apologized, saying that he cannot advance any more. He was an old, tired man, so Ram Singh saluted him and advanced alone. The second proverb. When Ram Singh arrived at the well, he tied the donkey and got the 2 barrels down near the well. He looked inside the well, but he saw nothing due to total darkness. The steps were white alabaster panels that glow in this total darkness. These steps go very deep in the well. When Ram Singh went down, he felt a movement behind him. When he looked back, he saw a giant carrying a skeleton. The giant said, "How do you see my beautiful wife, you dead man?" This giant loved his wife so much that when she died, he refused to believe that she was dead. He carried her body till it became a skeleton. Ram Singh knew nothing about this, but he remembered the second proverb said by his wise teacher, "Don't talk harshly to anyone." Ram Singh replied, "Yes, sir, she is very beautiful." The giant felt very happy and said, "I killed those who insulted her and said that these are just some necrotic bones. You are a kind youth and I must help you." He put the skeleton on the ground with great care and took both barrels. A few minutes later, he came up with both barrels full of water. He said to Ram Singh, "You made me happy. I'll do whatever you want." Ram Singh shook his head and said, "Please go far from this well so that people can get water from it." Contrary to the expected, the giant's face lit up. He promised Ram Singh to go away instantly. Ram hurried to the king's caravan, while the giant hurried away carrying the bones of his beautiful wife. When Ram returned carrying the water, all those in the caravan were happy. Ram said nothing about his adventure with the giant. He was contented with telling the king that there was no danger near the well now. The third wise word. The king was happy with Ram's adventure, and the prime minister ordered him to serve the king. So, Ram became the king's servant. Days passed, and the king's admiration to Ram increased, so he appointed him as a trustee of the kingdom's safe. This was a very high position in the kingdom. Ram now had both treasure and authority. One evening, the king was about to leave his royal council. He called Ram and whispered, "When any one of my courtiers asks you to give him money, tell him that the safe is empty." Ram was confused and remembered the third proverb, "Don't lie." Ram stuttered, "Your Majesty, if I lie for your benefit today, I'll lie to you tomorrow. I promised my teacher not to lie." The king was astonished, but said nothing. He went out in confusion. Shall he praise the young man for his honesty and sincerity, or punish him for disobedience? The fourth word. The king had a wicked brother. He thought that he became a friend of the treasurer Ram Singh. He thought it easy to get whatever sum of money he may need to bribe soldiers, officers, and advisors of the king. Then he can rebel, set his brother out, and be a king. He was so keen and cunning. At first he didn't tell Ram of his plan. He told him that he wants him to marry his daughter. But Ram remembered the fourth word. Don't equate yourself with those who are higher than you. Ram politely said that it is an honor for him to marry a princess, but he refused. The prince was so angry of this reply. He decided to set him out of his path. When the prince was with his brother, the king, he told him that Ram Singh said many bad words about the king and his niece. The king became furious. His face went dark red. He swore that he, his brother, and the princess would fast till the treasurer, Ram, was killed. The king called an officer of his guard and ordered him to accompany 10 of his soldiers and go to a tower near the city. He said, whenever a person comes and asks about how is the building of the tower going, kill him instantly. The old officer thought that this order was rather strange, but he had nothing to do but salute and go out. The fifth word. In the early morning, the king ordered Ram to go to the new hunting tower and ask when it is finished. As usual, Ram Singh rushed to do his mission. While he was walking, he heard a man reading. So he remembered the fifth word. When you meet wise old men, listen to their words even for a few minutes every day. This pushes you to the right path. Ram decided to listen to this wise man for a minute, but he stayed there for hours till it was noontime. During this time, the prince and his daughter became very hungry, waiting for the news of the death of Ram in order to have breakfast as the king ordered. Hours passed without any news. The prince disguised in the clothes of a servant and rode his horse to the tower. When he was there, he found some builders and soldiers. He forgot that he disguised and shouted, "Why are you hanging out here instead of getting work done? When will this building finish?" The officer ordered the soldiers at once to kill the prince, who fell instantly dead. The king went to his council and wondered why were his officer and his brother absent. Time passed and his obsessions increased rapidly. He couldn't wait anymore. He took his horse and hurried out. At that time, Ram Singh was still sitting to hear the wise man. When he heard the horse coming, he looked out and saw the king. He was ashamed and hurried to meet his master. The king was astonished and stopped. He was surprised to see Ram alive. At the same moment, the officer arrived and told the king that his mission was over. The king was in confusion, but he couldn't speak in front of Ram Singh. The king knew that the dead person was his brother and that Ram Singh was listening to the wise old man for a long time. At first, he was so angry, but he also found by chance some papers that show the plan of his wicked brother. Ram was now innocent of all accusations. So he served the king for years. He married a girl of the same social class. They had a happy life. His wife gave birth to children who were taught the 5 words.